XDefiant received its Year 1 Season 0 patch number 3 update today. Kind of a long-winded way to officially brand the third update, but anyways, it came with a bit of changes you may find interesting, plus 2 gameplay-changing things that will likely be evaluated further, where if the changes seem too harsh, they may not stay that way forever, but they're the first stepping stone in trying to balance the features at hand. So today, we're taking a look at this update and letting you know what you need to know so that you're entirely in the loop. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe for more XDefiant coverage along with other FPS content. We've still got a lot of discussions for things like, say, Black Ops 6 following its reveal here this past week coming up, along with more games, so I'd love to have you in the community as we chase down 600,000 subscribers. But for now, let's get into these changes with the newest XDefiant update and what it all brought along. So while the update did a lot of things in regards to like smaller things like player leg models detaching from their torso and escort, ping calculation adjustments and matchmaking, fixes to allow players unable to join games close to their completion if invited by friends, fixes for the echelon players being invisible permanently with the digital ghillie suit enabled. Obviously you want to have that as the ability, but not supposed to be permanently invisible. There are fixes to Libertad's battlefield medicine. There are fixes to camera shake for all types of explosions and sort of balancing out some of those problems that it had. Flag orientation on Liberty was adjusted. Crashing fixes were introduced. There were reductions in the pop-up frequency for banned for toxicity, which I didn't even know that's a thing. Like, I don't think I've seen that once, but apparently it happens so frequently for some people that it's a problem. Like, what are you guys doing? There are also fixes for achievements like Buzzkill and some fixes for cosmetic items, and the biggest one of the like minor changes I'd say come down to fixes for long distance shooting, which included slightly reducing walking speed while holding your breath while wielding scoped weapons, which they said in their patch notes, which makes sense when you think about it. So like a decent list of things that were fixed, but grand scheme of things, you may not see any of those. You may see a handful, but maybe not all, or maybe you did see all of them, in which case, well, glad that these are fixed out for you now. So how much these impact your day-to-day gameplay experience, that's up in the air. But like I said, I maybe saw 1 or 2 personally. The camera shake was definitely one that I encountered, but honestly beyond that, not a whole ton. The rest, hit or miss, but nice that issues are fixed for those that may be experiencing them. The things that are important though come down to 2 distinct changes to gameplay mechanics: jumping and sniper flinch. The first of the 2 that I want to discuss is the bunny hopping and spam jumping changes here. It's described in the patch notes as added aiming penalties for players who go to town on the jump and crouch buttons, aka nuanced tactics of jump spamming, aka the maddening exploit of jump spamming. Opinions vary. This change was made to target players who would jump at every possible chance during a gunfight. To me, as someone who'd give a hop or 2 in a gunfight, I was a bit curious to see how this would go in regards to the change in what we had. With this update, after the 3rd jump, starting on the 4th, you're now going to see penalties introduced in which aiming sway will kick in. And it's not like the aiming sway you'd think of with like a heavy sniper or something in Call of Duty where you just aim down sight and it sways back and forth a little bit. This is actual sway that will take you insanely far off target, or at least in a sort of vacuum of gameplay, where if you're just jumping and aiming down sight at some targets, that's what will happen. Now, controlling that with aim assist may be something that proves to be not as bad as jumping stationary to show off the effect, but it's a drastic change for sure to the jumping system in XDefiant. I think predominantly you'll probably only experience this to a full degree if you're taking a 1v2 or 1v3 or just excessively jumping in a single gunfight. Like for me, in a single 1v1, I don't think that I jump more than maybe twice, so I probably wouldn't experience this too much. If you're like me, that might be the same for you, but this is all said before playing while recording this. How much that'll differ once I jump back in after the update and after recording this video, that may just prove that it's an assumption made too early without enough in-game context. But this isn't the first time we've seen this. You may remember back in the original beta test last summer, this sort of feature was implemented to try and combat this even back then. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember to what degree this was, like if this is stronger, weaker, or exactly the same penalties we had last year, but it's not the first time we've seen this introduced, but it's a change reintroduced with XDefiant's update today. Now, beyond that, we also saw sniping changes, which is described in the patch notes as they revamped how snipers flinch when they're tagged by enemy fire, increasing the flinch and keeping it going through multiple hits. Now, that doesn't sound super specific, so it may be tough to decipher what exactly that means or the nuanced intricacies of it, but it appears at least initially that changes have been made to differentiate body and headshot flinch. Body shots appear to shoot the player's aim upward, while headshots appear to shoot the player's aim down, adding a bit of perhaps perceived variance in trying to accommodate for mitigating that flinch. In practice, I'm curious to see how this will work because honestly, I'm not much a sniper in this game. I enjoy my rifles too much, but when looking at clips, it does seem to be pretty drastic of a change. But again, not playing enough with snipers to adequately use the term of harsh or not immediately. Anyone who's a big sniper, fill me in with your take on it, what you think about it. But as with the jump spam penalties, I'm curious to see in practice how this changes the dynamic of sniper gameplays. There was absolutely some sort of overpowered feeling with snipers, but only in the right hands perhaps. Like if you had a good centering on your weapon, you had good aim, you had the ability to be precise, you had that benefit of the doubt since there wasn't a whole ton of bounce in your shot when you're hit. But now this appears to add a decent bit of that. But that leads me to the next point here. If these things do seem pretty harsh, we have to recognize that balancing is a moving target. Things will be adjusted in the future here. Balancing passes such as these are always something that will be continually evaluated, and first changes like these are rarely ever something that is permanent and the final endpoint. Usually, no matter the game, a first pass of balancing doesn't get it right, and with Ubisoft and the XDefiant team's perceived interest in community feedback, I do have a feeling that we're going to see this being adjusted here over time a bit more, where it'll be community tailored back and forth for a bit before we end up finding that true middle ground. So is it harsh right now? Very possibly yes, but will it be forever? I don't know, and I don't think that I believe that it will be. So you want to accommodate for all players, the sweats that will bunny hop and the casuals who don't even have that thought cross their mind mid-gunfight, but it's just a matter of striking that balance. We're just at step one here, it seems like, for that. So for now, this is what we have, but it's very possible in the future we do see it change. And even such, that brings me to another point here. Patch number 2 is coming next week. It was mentioned by Mark Rubin that the updates coming out into XDefiant here before Season 1 are broken down into 2 distinct patches. Notably, there were no explicit mentions of changes to the netcode or improvements on that front, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they're being made in these updates were applicable and just to skip the monotony of saying it every single patch notes like, hey, we fixed netcode a bit, that maybe they're just not mentioning it. But if not, we do have another update coming this time next week where it's quite possible netcode is addressed head on in that one, and also maybe some further custom tailoring to the changes we saw with these 2 things today. Now, a quick reminder for that patch, though, again, I'm going to be entirely unplugged and offline for that, as I'll be on my honeymoon for the duration of next week, so we'll still have content on the channel daily here, but as for the up-to-date coverage and things like talking about the updates, that's just not going to happen. We're not going to be able to cover that one during next week. So just a heads up, that update is coming, and we may still see some more stuff alongside that, but for right now, this is the update that we have at the moment, with XDefiant changing, again, those 2 big things of sniper flinch and jump spam penalties. So that said, that is where we're going to wrap it up. Before we do, though, make sure to check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for what I firmly believe are the best blue light glasses on the market. I've worked with these guys for 3 years now and cannot recommend them enough. They're the most lightweight, comfortable, and durable frames on the market as far as I've used, and I definitely think they've helped my daily productivity. Now, full transparency, they're a bit more of an investment, but I do think your vision's absolutely worth investing into, especially if you're like me, looking at a monitor, phone, or gaming for a good chunk of the day, which with XDefiant's recent release and all the grind leading up to Season 1, maybe you are like me, you have been gaming quite a bit. So if you guys would like to learn more, at the very least, I'd recommend checking out their website, where they can better break down the science and all the specifics way better than I could, but what I can personally say is I'd highly recommend them. So if you'd like to learn more, check the link in the description below, and if you'd like to pick something up for yourself, use code Espresso to get 10% off your entire order. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of these changes? Think they're too far, not enough? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things XDefiant and other FPS content like further Black Ops 6 coverage. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.